Calling to order the Ukiah Valley Sanitation District special meeting on Tuesday, May 8th at 6 p.m. at the district office, and the time is actually 6:04 p.m. And if we could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And we are going to go into a short closed session for about 15 minutes would be my estimate. A roll call? Let's do roll call first.
Chairman Darling?
Present.
Vice Chair Reed? Here. Director With?
He is absent. He's notified us.
Director Baucom?
Here.
And Director Marshall?
Present.
Okay, closed session. Thank you. Good evening. We are back into open session at 6:34 p.m. Ukiah Valley Sanitation District meeting. And out of closed session, we have been given direction to staff and chair. No votes taken. Public expression of non-agendized items. Is there anyone in the gallery who wishes to comment on an item that's not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on.
I'd like to say one thing. I just would like to request that closed sessions go to the end. I know it's in our policies that it's at the beginning, but we've been doing it for so many months with it at the end, and it seems important to be able to have public comment and for people to be here for the
So
meeting.
that's why I requested to have a time estimate put on all of these items, and like we did last time, and it worked out really well. The reason I put it on the front is not only because it's our policy, but it's our policy because if we have to pay attorneys $500 an hour for 2 attorneys to be here, I'd rather have them here for an hour and then leave than have to sit through our whole meeting and pay them for that. So that was the logic of having it up at the top. But I did request time estimates on these, and it just didn't get included this time like it did last time. But moving forward, we're going to do that. So if a member of the public wishes to only come for like item 6, they can at least kind of figure out what time it will be and show up at that time. And that was actually a recommendation I picked up at the training I went to that I was implementing. Is that okay? Okay, thank you. Item number 4, approval of board meeting minutes. Are there any changes to the minutes? Oh, yes, there's a member of the public who wishes to speak on the meeting minutes.
Yeah, you can go first
Sure,
if you want.
it's anytime,
All right.
whatever.
Yeah, I reviewed these and there are statements attributed to me for section 10 and section 12. And having done the minutes, I understand how hard it is to capture what he was saying in a sentence. So I went back and watched the tape, and I just didn't really think that this captured what I said. So if you like, I prepared like an alternative that I thought sort of explained what I was trying to say, or what I actually think I did say. For number 10, it says that I said it's very common to authorize invoices before payment to make sure you're getting what you asked for. And after watching it, I thought really what I said was it's really common to have hourly rates for things like staff, legal, or whatever. But you want to have input on the front end as to sort of how you expect that to go, and then reserve the right to review it when you get the invoice. And then on the second one where it says that I agreed with Ernie about getting an interim general manager. When I watched that, Ernie was really pushing for like a full-time manager, which is also what I echoed when I recommended Dave Redding as a decent choice. Actually, it's a good choice. He's a good person. And I actually said that I agreed entirely with Mr. Cook's comments. And Ernie had said a lot about maybe all of us reviewing how we calculate things, and then also about having a reachable local full-time gym. That's what I had agreed with. So you can take it or leave it. I just wanted to clarify what I had intended to say. Thanks.
Thanks. Chelsea, this is why I like action minutes.
Yeah, so we don't have to read
There is
public
that.
comment.
No, it's okay. It's hard.
So,
You need a motion.
would anybody like to make a motion to approve the minutes with
With the changes?
with the changes recommended.
Yeah.
Before we do that, is there anyone else from the gallery wishing to comment on this item? No? Okay, move forward.
I move to approve the minutes with suggested changes.
Okay,
I second.
Director Reed made the motion, and Director Bachman second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous, pass.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking the time to do that. Okay, consent calendar. Does anybody wish to pull anything from the consent calendar? I did do a little research on this as well. I didn't know how to read the county reports, so I called the county and talked to someone to see exactly how much money we had sitting in the treasury and how much money we actually received from property taxes and all different areas, and that was included, right, Chelsea? Yeah, it's in the USVD monthly expenses, so there's a little extra information there that I obtained, that Chelsea and I did, which hopefully maybe a district manager can be doing that in the future.
And I'd like to point out that the property tax revenue, that only occurs once a year. So that's probably gonna stay the same till we, till August, when we do our public hearing.
So seeing that nobody wants to pull anything, is there any comment from the gallery, any public comment on this item? Nope, seeing none. Is there a motion to accept?
I make a motion that we accept the consent calendar as drawn.
There's a motion by Director Marshall and a second by Director Reed. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay? Unanimous. Thank you. The next item is a request from Director Baca. Item number 6, discussion of possible action regarding district policy number 5020.
This will be, but
Oh, that was you? I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you have the floor.
this came up in our governance committee meeting. We were looking to add a standing item on the agendas for board members to be able to bring up agenda items for the next meeting. Excited to refer back to the policy that we already have in place, and I just wanted to read through some of it and clarify, just because it's, it's come up, we're new, we're trying to get things added, everything's kind of changing around. There are members of the public that, a member of the public that had wanted an item on the agenda, so I just want to clarify and move forward on a couple of the things. So, just putting in here that any director may call the district manager, which at this time would probably defer to Chelsea, to add an item onto the agenda no later than a week before a regular meeting. And I know Chelsea really enjoys having the emails about them also, which I think helps clarify exactly what we're looking for in an agenda item, which, we can always go back and readjust the policy. Any member of the public may request that a matter directly related to the district business be placed on the agenda of a regularly scheduled meeting. I wanted to reiterate to the public that the request must be in writing and submitted to the district manager, together with supporting documents and information, if any, at least 7 business days prior to the date of the meeting. And that if the general manager chooses to not put it on the agenda, the member may come to the next meeting and petition to the board for that. And the policy does not prevent the board from taking testimony at regular and special meetings of the board on matters which are not on the agenda, which the public may wish to bring forward, or the board shall not discuss, which we do that pretty good. And I know we've talked about the board secretary and creating a task for said person. Just wanted to put in here right now, I know we have Chelsea taking the minutes, but having a board secretary says as part of this would be a board secretary taking minutes and recording all of those items that people are asking for to be on the agenda.
Yeah, looks like that probably needs to get revised so that we don't have to take minutes. Right? Okay. Is there any discussion?
Says that the board secretary shouldn't be present at the meeting. right?
Yeah.
It's like we not be present, shall call the roll.
So if the secretary wasn't going to be at a meeting, they would need to make plans ahead of time for someone else to be taking the
Someone else to be
minutes.
taking minutes, yeah.
Anyone from the public wishing to comment on this item? Is there any board discussion on this? Yes.
Just want to make one clarification, is that both policy 5020 states that the district manager in cooperation with the board and then shall prepare an agenda for any regular special meeting, and that any director may call the district manager and request an item to be placed on the agenda no later than 5 p.m. on Thursday prior to posting the agenda. And the request shall be considered, but the district manager still has the ability to determine whether or not it's appropriate to place it on an agenda or another agenda, because the district manager is the one in charge of making sure that the agenda flows properly. If you have if you have 10 items from each board member, you're going to have an agenda that's going to take forever. And so it's still in the district manager's authority to say, okay, we'll take this here, and next week we'll take this, or at the next meeting we'll take this. So simply because a board member requests it doesn't mean it's automatically going to get on the next agenda item. It may have to wait until another time.
Also, I think you just mentioned it says Thursday, and I think that was written into our policies because we had our meetings on Thursday.
Correct.
So that policy needs to be changed to reflect Wednesday, because our meetings are now on Wednesdays. So we'll have to make a note.
The posting requirements are different, and that's one thing that Mr. Tate was doing, was going through all the policies, trying to update them, and he hadn't got through that, but all the policies need to be updated.
They do.
They all need to be updated. Most of them were written either prior to the board being an independent board or right after the board became an independent board. So they're both.
I thought the governance committee updated the policy.
Well, the district manager will draft them and can give them to the governance committee for review, and I mean, generally it's.
And then the governance committee makes their recommendations to the full board.
So while we're on the topic of the agenda, it would be nice, I realize right now that we're short-staffed, but to be able to get the agenda packet earlier than we're getting it, so much information to go through in 24 hours.
So that's because we're having special meetings. If we were just to have regular meetings, you would get those earlier than a special meeting. And I think most of
But we're
these,
still getting our agenda packets for regular meetings the day before.
we should not be getting them.
We get the agenda.
The agenda before, but the agenda packet comes out when we can compile the information together.
Yeah.
And it is truly because you have one person running the office.
And like LAFCO, I get them a week ahead of time, but they are like that thick. Like literally hundreds of pages to read through, so I need a week, but, it would be nice to have these out earlier, so maybe if we did have more staff in the office, that would be a goal that we really need to accomplish.
Yeah, I think it would be hard to get an agenda completed and out a week before.
Yeah, with all the documents, with the packet.
Well, if we
I
had
feel like we have a lot of
one-
amended agendas.
But if we
now.
only had one meeting a month,
Yeah.
and we got
More
what
staff.
people wanted 2 weeks ahead of time, we have a week to prepare it, we could get a little more organized.
And you had full staff, that would be
Yeah,
something that would be very doable.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
the situation now is we have 2 meetings a month and you have one person trying to get all that information together.
Working less than half-time.
Right.
So. Okay, you good to go to the next item?
Well, this board secretary, is this another employee or is this somebody appointed?
It's a role of the
One of
board.
members. Okay.
And I think that was before we had staff.
Yeah.
That policy was made when one of us was actually sitting here taking minutes. So that has to be changed. Okay, if there's no more discussion, we'll move to item 7, discussion and possible action regarding the review of bank statements for the fiscal year 17-18 from the Bank of America and Savings Bank. And this is at the request of Director Baucom. So you have the floor, ma'am.
Okay, so It's pretty simple. I wanted to make a motion and then discuss it. So my motion would be to provide copies of bank statements to the board members for review. And so I open it up for discussion. I think it's important that we all have the bank statements for the year.
So you've made a motion?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I've made a motion.
And that
So the
motion
motion is to provide copies of the bank statements from the Savings Bank and Bank of America for fiscal year 2017, 2018 for the board members.
There's a motion, is there a second?
A second.
Okay, we'll open it to
Okay,
discussion.
So the discussion is that I feel it's important that we have an idea of the expenditures for the year. We need to all be on board and have them in our possession to be able to review what has gone on through the year, to analyze, and to be able to discuss it. And so if we get the documents, then we can put it on the agenda for discussion, and we can talk about it.
So that's actually, when you're talking about our bank statements, you're only talking about our admin budget.
Yes.
And that's the role of the budget committee, is to put together the administrative budget. That includes filming, that includes rent, that includes internet guy, that includes our stipends, our travel, that includes engineer, salaries for, all of those costs are on that budget that I need a district manager here to help me put together with a director with. And so we look at all of the year's expenses, and we have a budget that shows our last 3 years' actual expenses by line item, and then we project out this coming year's. So basically, you're getting all the totals without having to go through all the bank statements, and the board discusses and votes on a budget. And that's
Yeah,
how traditionally.
I feel it would be important to have it ahead of time so that we can familiarize ourselves with what went on last year before the budget committee, and then when the budget committee, and that's supposed to be going on now, and of course, we have all kinds of things going on, and we're kind of behind on the budget committee, but I feel that we all need to be brought up to speed. If you're interested, before the budget committee, puts it all together. We have a right to see the bank statements. I've been asking since March, and
I thought you went in the office
We've
and
seen
spent
them.
quite a while in there going through that.
I needed copies of them. I scanned them, and you refused to email them to me. And so I would like to vote on, it's a board member's right to look at the bank statements for the fiscal year, and I've been denied that.
But you looked at them in the office. All of them.
But I was told I couldn't go into the office anymore and bother you, and I asked you to email them to me. I scanned them myself because you were too busy, and you never emailed them to me.
No, but you've already seen them, so when do you need them?
I need to analyze them. I looked at them while I was scanning. I did not have time to analyze and go through and look at.
Were the account numbers blacked out before they were scanned?
I'll have to go through all of them when I get time.
So,
Something you're interested in.
Like I said, I'd be happy to just Xerox them and black out the account numbers or whatever, but I feel like, as a director, I have a right, just because I like to.
I don't mind you looking at the bank statements, that doesn't bother me at all. A couple of things though I wanted to mention is, you said the Bank of America, because we're no longer working with the Bank of America.
Did we close the account?
it's not closed, but we're not using it.
But we did use it all through the fiscal year 2017, 2018, so it starts
Right,
June,
right.
July 1st, 2017, so it's important to.
So then my follow-up question is this something ongoing, or are you just interested in just that year of that bank?
No, both banks, but my next I have the next item is to include in the board packet the bank statements.
The bank
Wait,
statement
our,
from the previous
our
year
check,
balances.
isn't our check register exactly
Oh,
what
that's-
comes out of our bank
Yes, the
account?
bank statements
and that
include the beginning and
Is
ending
included
balances.
in the packet.
Yes.
There's nothing that comes out of that bank account that is not on that check register. Not a
And
thing.
we have the beginning balance and the ending balance.
Why do we need that?
We can give it to her. We can call the bank and get beginning and ending balance. That's fine.
Well, no, that's on your bank statement.
I
It's
mean,
always
but
in
we
the
don't,
bank
I don't see, we've got one staff person working 16 hours a week. And she can push a button in QuickBooks and print out the entire check register and include it in every packet. So I don't see the point of doubling the work. Why get the bank statement if we have everything we need in the check register?
Does it have an explanation of each thing on
Yes.
here? Well, then I
It
guess-
wouldn't, it would not have an explanation on a bank statement. It does have an explanation in the check register.
I guess just adding the beginning and ending balance would be the only other thing to add to it, and that's it.
I know that our QuickBooks is way off on beginning and ending balance, but we could get that with a phone call, right?
Well, it'll be on
It's
the
on
bank
the
statement. It's on the bank.
Oh, it's on this, yeah, she
Yeah,
can
you
look
don't
it
have
up.
to call anybody.
That's fine. We'll wait. Yep.
So,
Point of order real quick, we're still on 7 and we moved to 8.
yeah,
So
so
it's
I made a motion, and I would like copies of the bank statements. I don't want to cause any more work for Chelsea. I'll be happy to cover the cover the numbers and Xerox them myself, or she could email them to me, and I will print them out and black it out myself, whatever's easiest for her.
Well, I think we just, we are looking at very limited ability for her to,
It's already done, they're already scanned, I did it, and it took me about
So-
an hour to scan them all.
okay. Is it something that can't be done just with what she was talking about earlier, the check registry?
I'm looking at the entire year.
She wants last year's.
Yeah, I'm trying to get a handle on our expenses for the entire year, and I want to look at all the bank statements, including the one that's missing September 2017.
Yeah,
That was okay.
I don't have authorization to get anything from Bank of America, nothing.
I know what Teresa does,
I do, and Joe does.
and Joe does, so.
Joe does not have authorization with Bank of America.
He doesn't?
It was Jim. Jim was supposed to take care of that.
I'm not sure if you
She did.
Yeah, but I didn't want to take 2 hours out of my day and $30 in gas to drive down there.
You don't
it's-
have you can just put in a password and you
There's
can sign up?
not with this account,
No,
nope.
it's account.
There's
Well,
no
why don't you call
online,
her?
there's,
you have to go to.
you have to walk into the bank and show them your ID for this account.
Well,
And right now, the closest one is Hillsborough.
when you go down to close the account.
So
and you
I
can
do
that-
we do have the check register for September though. Will that work? Because I actually found my October agenda packet that had our check register and expenses for September in it. And you still have September's check register on it. So I have my,
Technically you'd have
The
to have a
auditor.
statement for the auditor.
Yeah, we're gonna need it for the auditor, but when you close the Bank of America account, when you go down there, then you can ask
Exactly.
for it. But yeah, that would be a start to get a copy of the.
check register would be a
Well,
start.
In your board agenda, your old board agenda, I can start.
I found that. So, I don't think we need a motion to give you copies of it.
Well, I did
Motion
make a
been made,
motion and it's been seconded.
The other thing is the city of Ukiah's attorneys have also requested through the public documents request all that as well. So we can wait until Joe and Chelsea get all that together and just give you a copy.
That would be fine. That would be fine.
Because that has been requested. So we're, instead of doubling,
That
The
would
work?
be fine,
maybe just when that's together.
fine.
Motion table,
So we should vote on the motion to provide
or
banks.
motion table.
Julie, can I clarify your motion?
Yes.
Motion to give bank statements from fiscal year 2017, 2018 from Bank of America and Savings Bank to board members.
Yes. Make available to any board members that might want it, yeah.
Can you amend it to say after they're compiled?
Sure. After they're compiled.
By the district manager and staff,
Sure.
so we don't, okay. All right, so there was a motion and a second. Is there anyone from the gallery? Yeah,
Does the second agree to
I have a second.
she agrees to the amendment. Is there anyone from the gallery wishing to comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll take a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Okay, item number 8.
Thank you. So, district financial documents, so this is what we were talking about. We have the county and the city balance sheets for the previous months in the board agenda packet.
And the city?
And the city, yeah. And so I guess if Chelsea would just add from the bank statements, the beginning and the ending bank balance to her.
That would make it a lot easier.
Yes.
Then that would be fine. If so, so I would just make a motion that,
We can just give direction to staff, I think.
Okay.
We don't necessarily need a motion. So everything that's actually in the agenda packet today is how you wanted it?
yeah,
With beginning and ending. Okay.
With the exception of the beginning and ending balance from the Bank of America and Savings Bank.
yeah,
So now our monthly, so in our consent calendar, it'll be the same as what's in here, adding beginning and ending balances to check detail.
Yes.
Okay.
yeah, and we can get those right off the bank statement for the previous month.
All right.
So direction given to
Is
that.
there any discussion from the gallery on this item? Any public comment? No? Any other discussion from the board? Okay, so that's direction for staff. Okay, thank you. Item number 9, and Director Bachman, you have the floor again for the sewer hookup and ESSU fee schedule.
Okay, so, reviewing district and cities' commercial sewer hookups and ESSU fees. I looked up the origin, in our ordinance, I looked up the origin. We use it's called Amendment A. For commercial, we use this spreadsheet, and I ran down the origin of it. It's from the Sonoma Valley County Sanitation District. They developed this Exhibit A, equivalent single-family dwelling building units for Sonoma Valley, and they have a similar for airport sanitation zone, for Geyserville sanitation zone, and so on. And my point is that when we adopted this in our ordinance, it was like 2011, and this was the Sonoma Valley County Sanitation District. They amend this Exhibit A every year. They have a lot of staff, and so there is a lot to interpretation for this form. So right now, the city of Ukiah's rates are based on sewer fixture units, and the districts for commercial use are based on this chart, which becomes, it's very interpretive, and it's different. And so one ESSU in the district costs $1,870 more than the city. And I think this is what we ran into with the Rose Business Park. And it's not as important as the method that we choose with the city and the district, but it shouldn't be different. We should agree on a method and use it to equally, to be fair for particularly businesses, because we're discouraging business in the district. So what I figured, so my motion would be to form an ad hoc committee and request that the city council form an ad hoc committee so that we can get together to address developing a joint methodology to calculate sewer connection fees and rates. And that would be my motion. And then we can discuss it. Do I have a second on that? Anybody?
Second for discussion.
So that's the role of the district manager. So there are lots of things that were taken into consideration when that was done. And when that was done, we used numbers that were provided by the city when we calculate those. We have to calculate paying back what it costs to pay back our bond, the
It's
expansion part.
$541 surcharge, that's what that's for.
So we, and, you know, I know that there were discussions with the city on getting on the same page at one point, but really we need a district manager for that. If you put one of us four on an ad hoc committee for that, that's not gonna work out. You need somebody who knows the sewer plant and the ESSUs and the bond payments and everything else. And so we need experts from the city, and we need an expert district manager, someone like Joe, who has information on that to work with the city. And I'm all in favor of visiting that every year and getting something on par with the city so that we're doing the same thing. I don't want to discourage business in this valley at all. When that was passed, we thought it was the right thing, and we thought that's what we had to do, even though it was an increase at the time. But I don't see putting ad hoc committees together right now, especially when we are so short-staffed and we have the litigation so close, that's really something that we should be working on at this very moment, just staff, this board members, you know. But I do think a district manager should be working on that with the city.
And my comment is that I think that it's always been important that both the city and the district are on the same level with this. I don't necessarily think that the ad hoc would be the right method to use right now, though. There are too many things that are still unresolved, but definitely we want to come up with we want to use the same measure. What has always kind of surprised me is that the ESSU is not a statewide measurement. It seems to be set up by each individual district that's being used. And so whatever Sonoma County is using, parts of it that will apply, but probably other parts of it won't. And so, but by all means, eventually, I do think that both the city and the district need to come together and figure out how they're going to figure that out. I don't know if this is it can be done at this particular point, particularly because of the litigation.
You could make it a priority after the litigation's over,
You got my complete support on it becoming a priority.
you know.
Mm-hmm. So I think we all agree that we should come up with a method that is fair to both entities, that is pretty much equal, particularly for commercial, that we charge the same, so that it's fair for,
The city and the district.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Is it okay if I open it up to
Yes.
the gallery at this point?
Go ahead.
Okay.
I think the only thing I would suggest that we add to the formula, and this is something that both Tim and I talked to Frank about a number of times when he was still here, but is both the city and the sand district are pretty much overdue now for a rate study. When I first came to the city, we had a contract to do one for both wastewater and water. It was already signed before I got there. And we put the wastewater one off because of the litigation. We adopted the water one 2 years ago now. And beyond all of this, you know, we're all going to find ourselves in trouble eventually if we don't eventually start adjusting our rates. And rates, how to charge for hookups and all those things are probably more complicated than anyone at the city or here really can handle. And I think what you want to have is managers and staff from the city and the district, elected from the city and the district. But then really the final piece that I think we need to is mutually agree and select on someone to do the rate study and get that moving at some point. I talked to the guy that we used one time about like you know, how hard is it to come up with an even thing? He basically said that it probably, even if we did one with the goal of it being identical, it wouldn't be identical because we just have a different amount of infrastructure and a different amount of customers and different proportionality of debt and other things. But he said what you can do is have a uniform methodology for deriving whatever that is. And if the rate's a little different in one area than the other, just because of some factors, at least the way you're doing it, it is the same. And I would hopeful, like you guys said, at some point we can get there. I definitely see when we're looking at sort of year-end balances and things, we're starting to flatline and even start to go down a little bit. And looking at our water enterprise fund, was plateauing. You can see our rate increase in the end of the drought really starting to kick in and help things out. But yes, that's it.
Any other comments? No. Any other board discussion?
Well, I think we should just keep it a priority when we get a new district manager and the lawsuit's settled. Let's make it our number one.
Yeah.
Try to get a consultant hired with the city and do a rate study and try to work on this
Absolutely.
right away.
So we do have a motion and a second on the table, and according to the rules of order, that motion now belongs to the board. So it can't be withdrawn after it receives a second. So we'll have to vote on that motion. And we can vote it down or vote it up. So the motion is to form an ad hoc committee and request city to form an ad hoc.
I suppose that would keep it on the forefront just to develop, if we have an ad hoc committee, just to keep the communication open with the city so that we can, once the dust settles.
Not, generally it's staff that just does that though, it's not an ad hoc committee, because you're not, the only person qualified on this board to do that would be Director Whiff, to be honest with you, as far as having the knowledge, being able to do that, other than a district manager, you know,
Well, I was thinking more about directing consultants and things and just kind of getting the ball rolling with experts, you know.
that would be a whole board decision on hiring. Anytime we commit money, it would have to be a board decision. So it would have to come to the full board
And it would be with the
anyway.
city, but yeah, it would be with the city
Yeah,
too.
so,
We wouldn't do the whole thing ourselves.
so there's a motion on the table to form an ad hoc
Is
committee.
it possible for a motion to be tabled for an indefinite period, at least until
Yeah.
the situation's change?
Can table the motion.
Why don't we do
So
that?
did I take a vote to table the motion? I need a motion to table the motion? Is there a motion to table the motion?
I make a motion to table the motion.
Okay, so, Marshall. I'm sorry, I'm taking minutes because Chelsea had to leave. Motion to table. Motion indefinitely. And second, Director Reed. Okay. All in favor of tabling the motion? Aye, please.
Aye.
Nays? Nope. Okay. This is 4-0. Okay. Item number, what other number are we in?
10.
Bottom, item number 10.
Okay,
Update on district manager job description and date of release of RFP for recruiting an
so
auditor.
that's what I wanted to ask you, an update on.
Yeah, so we have the job description.
Yeah, we had a comment.
I have not been able to speak with Joe since our last meeting to get an update on the auditor.
So has this job description gone out?
Has not gone out because we were sent it to you guys for comments, right? We
Yeah.
said at our last meeting, and we can put it posted if there's no.
We have, yeah,
I'm off on the experience. I would like this to say preferred. I really think it's that we're
Restricted.
restricting ourselves,
Mhm.
saying that there's 15 years of progressive responsible leadership management.
Equivalent to a bachelor's degree or related field and a master's degree is desirable, equivalent to it. That's kind of.
Do I have it in the agenda packet?
Yeah.
No,
No, it's not separately. Do you wanna,
it's not separately.
this is where
Should be all there.
So
The education training is a little.
any combination of required education and experience. So any combination of these.
What is
Any
equivalent to
combination
a
of
bachelor's
these two
degree?
things.
You either have a bachelor's degree or you don't. There's.
Well, you could have all the units for the bachelor's degree and not actually have the degree, like not gotten the actual degree. You could have 150 units and never finished one last class to get the degree, you know, so that would be.
How about preferred a
Right.
bachelor's degree from an accredited college?
So it's not
worried about
even-
the bachelor's.
It's not even saying you have to have a bachelor's. It
No, I
says,
know that. Where I'm concerned is with the, down here.
so any combination of required education and experience. So any combination, 15 years of leadership, managerial, or critical staff experience.
Well, I just feel like that's putting us as saying like we can only have somebody over a certain age applying
No,
for this job.
That's standard language in government.
No.
But I support, because I believe that anything, the bigger the net, the better the catch.
I mean, all I'm asking is that we put preferred on there,
Preferred in front of it.
and then we see what we get.
Because you don't want to
You can
eliminate
always
somebody.
turn it down.
You
So somebody could apply that has zero experience
So
if
we
you just
wouldn't
write
pick them,
preferred.
Right.
Do you really want to put that out there?
Well, we might get somebody that has 5 years of experience that's
Preferred.
fantastic.
And certification sometimes
Yeah.
is as valuable as any kind of degree, so,
And
again, I think the bigger the net, the better
Yeah.
the catch.
the reason for limitations generally for personnel things is to narrow the amount of applications they're gonna have to sit through.
I don't think we're gonna have that problem.
Okay, I mean, I'm just telling you from county and government experience in general, is you at least narrow it somewhat so that they have to establish they have a combined experience. If they don't have a bachelor's degree, they have experience that will make up for it. And you have people who
But
will
I'm not
apply for
arguing
it.
that part at all.
What's that?
Because I'm not arguing the educational part, but I'm just saying,
But the experience, it's the same thing. It's,
you can get your bachelor's in a lot less than 15 years.
oh yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
I think Doug is saying the same thing you are.
But I'm having an issue with the 15 years in there of combined experience.
So,
So if you don't have a bachelor's degree, you have 15 years of progressively responsible. That means you could start out flipping burgers and work your way to the manager in 15 years.
And
That's
you
what
will,
that's saying.
and you will see resumes and applications like that. That will,
I get that, but I feel
state
like
that.
that's still, all I'm asking for is preferred. That's what I'm
Okay,
asking
yeah.
for. So
In front of 15 years?
Yeah.
preferred or at the end.
Why don't you?
it's required.
Oh, yeah. Instead of
That
required,
was
yeah.
my,
So under education and experience, you want to put preferred combination of education and experience? Or, so that basically you're saying there's no minimum qualifications.
I wouldn't read it that way.
Well,
No.
if you're just saying preferred, you're getting rid of,
You
of
are.
any preference of
And-
you're getting rid of any
anybody
line.
will apply who thinks they want the job. But
I think that
different job markets.
almost, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's just a difference in job markets. I mean, at this point, are you gonna get 100 applications for every position you put out there? Maybe not. So does it really matter? I mean, preferred, but by putting the word preferred in front, you are eliminating
Any standard,
any requirement.
any requirement is gone. Do you want to change it to 10 years of progressively responsible leadership instead of 15?
term of 10, yeah.
I mean, I don't want to get rid of a minimum qualification. I don't want to sift through applicants of people,
Right.
of housewives applying for this job.
You still have the screening process, which is the next agenda item, and then you still have the board having to actually hire the person.
Well, I mean,
The
I'm
main
sorry,
thing
but
is,
I'm.
are you gonna get 100 applications or are you gonna get 10?
That could kill it, so.
Well, I actually think the one thing that may happen is you end up somebody fresh out of college, somebody that doesn't have that quote yearly experience on the job, but maybe qualified as far as academic stuff. So,
I don't wanna limit what we get.
But we could hire or not hire that person too.
yeah, I think, because I don't think that we're gonna really get, like you say, 100 apps. I think we'll probably get,
How many applied for Joe's position?
By the time the board got it, they narrowed it down to 3, and the board looked at 3. I don't know how many were total that went to committee. Do you remember?
No idea.
But we had,
But
this was the job description, and there was, I wanna say 6, 7,
I think I remember seeing four
4
responses, but it wasn't.
with this
There you
experience. Okay. So you can get 4 or take out the experience and get 40.
I don't think you're gonna get 40 either way.
So what's the direction of the board then? What would you like to do with the minimum qualifications?
10 years, okay for you? Or preferred?
I still am going with preferred, but.
But you realize you have to have somebody with some experience, right?
I understand that, but
You can't have somebody fresh out of college trying to
But
understand
we won't hire
ESSers in a
that
sewer
person.
system.
We won't hire that person.
Then why bother getting their resume and having them do all the work to send it to us?
let's split the difference, 7 years.
Well, I don't see the trouble. I'm okay with it.
I don't either.
So where do you want the word preferred in? And make it into a motion, please.
While I look at that, do you wanna get public comment?
Is anyone from the gallery wishing to comment on this?
I
Come
don't
on.
think so. Good luck. I can tell your recruiting stinks. You'd be lucky if you get 10. It's really hard to get people to come here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is why we couldn't.
Yeah, no, look, I have job descriptions up now that require a license, like I couldn't hire them even if I loved them. I get people with no licenses that apply, and I have ones that have like OITs that have no requirements, and I've had people with licenses apply to other than yeah, so.
And quite honestly, I think the certification is just,
I mean,
is so important, more so than.
like taking that required
to
preferred would take care of it, in my opinion.
Where, under experience?
Right here.
So,
Yeah.
okay. So, under
Well, that's
minimum
only that one
qualifications,
sentence. Experience with intergovernmental relations is preferred.
well,
It's only the one sentence that doesn't say anything about the other. Just right in front, prefer 15 years of progressive responsible leadership, just right in front of the beginning of the sentence. Prefer 15 years of progressively responsive leadership, management, or critical staff experience in a private or public organization.
is that a motion?
Yeah,
A motion by Director,
I make a motion that we add preferred to the beginning of the experience sentence.
And I'll second.
and
And at the last word under experience also.
to strike out the word required and
Replace.
replace it with the word preferred, where experience with intergovernmental relations is preferred.
Yeah.
So motion by Director Baucom, second by Director Reed.
Yes.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay? Passes 3-1. Okay. Is it okay if I keep this to give to Chelsea? Okay, thanks. Okay.
So then the question would be the date it goes out, like you're saying that you're just.
As soon as she can. She works tomorrow but doesn't work Friday, so. And then we already gave her a list of where to put it, and there will be a cost associated with putting it on CSTA label.
When are you gonna close it? You gonna open it and close it
Oh,
at a
yes.
certain amount of
That's
time?
how my vote is.
I,
Generally ongoing until
Ongoing,
filled
yeah,
would be my best.
yeah, I say put it up and leave it up
Open until
until,
filled,
Might wanna note that, open until closed.
and then just run it for a couple, 2 to 4 weeks, but with that language in there, and let people apply as they do.
are good, guys?
Yep.
Great. Okay, item number 11.
Okay, so I brought this up just for discussion only. I wanted to know the last time you hired, who your interview panel was, and I just had a suggestion for, how did you do that before it came to the board? You know, you said they came with 3. Who did the, filtering?
We had an ad hoc committee that worked with the district manager,
Oh,
and then
okay.
they brought the top 3 candidates to the full board.
Okay.
And then the full board hire.
And
Yes, and then the full board. hired.
So I wanted to suggest that we develop a professional interview panel to include local business persons such as, and this is just a suggestion, Ross Liberty. There's a Brook Trail sewer manager, Denise Rose, who's very knowledgeable, and she's at Brook Trails. They actually had a lawsuit also for sewer rates, and Patrick was actually their lawyer also for that lawsuit. And so she's got a lot of experience with that sort of thing. So I just wanted to throw that out. And then, so you would have an ad hoc committee of board members plus these community members also to maybe give us some insights. And they do it for free.
That's a good idea.
So
You want to, since it's just discussion now, maybe keep that thought and bring it back when we
have candidates.
start getting some candidates in.
Yeah.
And that's,
Yeah, I
that's a
think
really
it's-
good idea.
You know, I think it's
Yeah.
a good idea.
No, it's a great idea.
Outside. Okay, good.
Is there anyone from the gallery wishing to comment on that item? Seeing none. Any more discussion from the board? Nope. Okay, announcements and other business matters. No general manager report this meeting. We got one last meeting. Any director's reports? Nope. This letter was received, so I will pass it out. It was to the board of directors. It's just communication. I haven't read it. Chelsea just handed it to me, so did you want one?
You made copies available to the public.
I do have several copies. Somebody really good public. Pass this over. The next regular meeting is June 13th. Right now, the board agreed to have meetings every 2 weeks. Really, because we're getting updates on litigation and things. And I noticed this week it was really difficult for Chelsea to get the meeting together and work on everything else. So I'd like to propose us just having a regular meeting in June 13th.
Unless we get some
And
settlement.
if there's some reason we need to have a special meeting, then we will.
Yeah.
And then we can get our agenda items to Chelsea, get that packet out a week ahead of time, and but I wanted to throw that out there and get the board's.
I still feel like we have so many items coming forward on the agendas that it makes sense to have 2 meetings still until trial date comes.
It's like everything's put on hold until the lawsuit is settled, so.
And that's what I feel. If something does come up, I'm all for calling a special meeting. But yeah, at this point, this was some good stuff. But
We
how much
can't
more?
really move on it.
So I'd like.
And this was a regular meeting, that was just a special meeting because.
Because the regular one
early,
was
right.
canceled, yeah. So
But
this was all we had for our regular meeting
Right.
agenda. We didn't have
And-
anything.
Chelsea needs time to put it will go much smoother if Chelsea has time to get input from all the directors as to what's going on, and we can get out the material a week in advance or more, include not only the agenda, but the agenda packet. And so all the board members have a chance to digest it and thoroughly understand what's going on and have, you know, good coherent questions.
Regarding that, I need to go back to director's report. Website update. He's done with the website. He's just gonna come in and show Chelsea how to post things. So our full agenda packets will be on the website, not just, she wasn't able to do that before. Also, there's a spot for your photo. If you'd like to get a photo if you have one to post on the website. But our website is upgraded to include everything.
I'm gonna put an emoji on mine.
Anyway, so.
I have a question. So since the June meeting is the last one of the fiscal year, so shouldn't we be going over budget things, or is
We
everything?
should.
Except that the city has not agreed to a joint meeting for the budget issue, so there's no way to go forward with it.
And as far as just our small little admin budget, without a district manager, can't go anywhere, can't do anything right now.
That should be on
That's
the
our-
agenda to get up and going, but the main thing with the combined budget with the city's refused to meet with the district as far as budget at this time until the lawsuit's settled.
That was the email I
That was
handed out
correct.
last meeting from Sage.
They simply said no.
So we just have to wait for Sage to contact us or contact Joe when he's, supposedly he's giving his
We can push
deposition
it.
tomorrow. And he said maybe after he gives his deposition, they would resume with the budget meetings, but maybe
With
they wouldn't do
Dan
it
Buffalo,
until,
you mean?
or Dan Buffalo, I'm sorry.
Yes.
But maybe it wouldn't be until after the entire lawsuit is over.
Right.
So this is really no different than what's happened the last several
It's
years.
the same thing that's been going on for years.
Well, just not very comfortable.
No, it's not. It's very uncomfortable. Okay, so do I have consensus that we'll have a June 13th meeting, and is that okay?
Yeah, I think it's.
And if anything,
Unless
anything
something
comes up, okay, anything comes up, we'll call a special meeting. Okay, so we are now adjourning at 7:30 p.m.